After all this time watching Marvel films and seeing WandaVision and Falcon Winter Soldier, you'd think I would be smart enough to wait until all the credits are done to see the mid-credit scene, right, from episode 4. Nope. At least not until my rewatch, and I already did my episode 4 review, so yeah. Sorry about that. How is everyone doing today, guys? My name is T Codes, and this is episode 5 of Loki, the penultimate episode to this whole thing, and that is Journey into Mystery. So, based off of what we saw in the mid-credit scene of the Nexus event, we knew that Loki was taken to what I was thinking was kind of like a junkyard timeline where, because you can't really destroy matter, time, and all that, you just gotta dump it in a place where you can, or at least you can just dispose of it, and that's technically what this is. This point in time is what they call a void, and this is where all the variants are dumped here. Not just variants, but like objects. Like there are obviously buildings, there are towers, there's this warship that gets dumped in here. There's the Thanos copter, which was really funny thing to see. But for the most part, this is where anything that gets pruned goes to die, because there is this big mist monster, Alioth, who comes in and just destroys it, just consumes it. It's kind of crazy. And yeah, and it's obviously a lot to take. But for our Loki, he isn't alone. He gets picked up by 4 variants of himself: a kid Loki, a big stoic black Loki, and then a Richard E. Grant Loki, who looks, a lot of people have been calling him like Golden Age Loki or just straight up old Loki. And then there is Alligator Loki. Yeah, that was a weird one. But yeah, they rescue him, and Loki, but our Loki, he is trying to figure out what's going on, all that, and his variants aren't exactly set on sitting and talking just yet, because they're like, you see that big mist monster thing? Yeah, that's gonna try and kill us in a few minutes if we don't get moving. So they have to get moving, and that's exactly what they do. They go, and obviously they have to try and figure out, Loki is trying to figure out what to do next, but these 4 variants pretty much are just like, we're stuck here, this is the end of time, this is the void, there's nothing escapes the void, and of course there isn't a temp pad that can be used either, so yeah. And while that's going on, Sylvie is interrogating the judge. I keep forgetting her name, even though Ramona Renslayer. That's who it is. The Judge Renslayer, who it was kind of hard to tell what she was doing, like what her game was here, because on one hand she did seem a little shocked that the TVA or the timekeepers were fake, but on the other hand she maybe does know more than other people do, so she probably would expect something to happen or something to be grand and all that, but no, she's just stalling in this episode. Because Sylvie's got her hostage, so she's just like, okay, as long as I can buy myself a little time, then the guards can come in and deal with her. But Sylvie is able to know enough that when you get pruned, you're not destroyed, you're sent to the void. And so Sylvie takes Ramona's tempad and then prunes herself. And at that moment, a few things came to my mind. I was like, wait, one, if anyone can just prune themselves as long as they have a tempad, they can be brought back. So how does that work? Or I mean, it's pretty straightforward and simple, but I mean, at the same time, if you stole a tempad and then you got pruned, you're still good, right? But yeah, so she gets sent to the void as well, and unlike Loki, where he landed and he was picked up by other variants of himself to get away from Alioth, she lands in a car and Alioth is literally on top of her, so she has to run. But while she's running, she accidentally touches it, and then she sees like this vision of a citadel or building or this cool fancy looking mansion thing, and she knows that something is up with Alioth. But then luckily for her, there's a guy in a pizza car, and that driver is Mobius. And so they get away, and they have to figure out what to do next. But all the while, Loki is with his variants in this bunker with a lot of cool classic things, which I guess makes sense because, you gotta prune some of that stuff. And yeah, it's pretty cool to see these variants just sit and talk with one another, talk about what they did, how they got pruned. Like, the kid Loki actually killed Thor, which was kind of bold. I was like, dang, you killed your brother as a kid? It's kind of messed up. And then for Richard E. Grant, I found this cool and intriguing that he survived Infinity War, whereas Tom Hiddleston's Loki doesn't. He talks about how when Thanos attacked the ship after Ragnarok, he was able to create a illusion of himself so real that he fooled Thanos. Like, Thanos actually thought he killed Loki, and so that's kind of what some people were speculating in Infinity War, that it was just another version of Loki. But as Thanos stated, no resurrections this time. But I mean, this Richard E. Grant proved them wrong. But unfortunately for the Golden Age Loki, even though he was able to escape and hide out on a planet, he eventually grew lonely and regretted everything that he did. And when he started to plan to get off the planet that he got picked up by the TVA, and that's when he got pruned. And then for Black Loki, who I gotta admit, I like his outfit. I really like this Thor-ish combo he's got, because he's got the hammer that looks like Mjolnir-ish, but it's not Mjolnir, because like you got a wrench sticking out, and it looks like it's a handmade version of it. But for him, he actually won the Battle of New York, but unfortunately that also was against the sacred timeline, so he got burned there. And then as for Alligator Loki, I think it's just existing. But yeah, so Tom Hiddleston obviously can tell that these four are just doing what they can and they're just hanging out, and so he decides that, you know what, I gotta go and figure out how to get out of here. And I think getting out of here is by killing Alioth. And of course, the four variants are just, nope. They're like, you can't just kill that thing. And then Loki's like, I can possibly. And then at first he can't convince him to come, and then so he just it looks like he's gonna go off on his own. But then all of a sudden he opens up the bunker and he finds President Loki, as everyone called him. And I gotta admit, it was pretty funny. It was a really funny scene, just having all these Lokis in a room. And then you obviously have all the backstabbing, you have all the negotiation, you have all that. And then out of nowhere, you just have President Loki just being like, why is there an alligator? I'm sorry, when my family saw that, we couldn't stop laughing at that sudden, break of the tension. Like, why is there an alligator? a funny little bit. I mean, and it's a good question. Why the heck is there an alligator? I mean, we saw Frog Thor when we entered the bunker, and then you saw like you got that pan shot of the dirt that is between the main the top and the bottom, like, so kind of funny. But unfortunately, it's only Loki. Tom Hiddleston only gets Kid Loki, Richard E. Grant, and Alligator Loki with them, so they try to see what they can do against Alioth, and they find out rather quickly they really can't do anything because Alioth is just this misty cloud, so he can just fly in, and everything in it that he flies through gets disintegrated practically. So Loki isn't sure what to do, but then luckily for him, Sylvie and Mobius show up, and they all plot a way to not to destroy Alioth, but to enchant him. That's really what happens. Sylvie says she's able to enchant it, so they just got to be able to distract it, and then she can get close enough to enchant him. And at first it seems like, okay, well, what's gonna happen? Well, for Mobius, Sylvie gives him the temp pad, and he says he's gonna go and burn the TVA to the ground, and then he and Loki hug to have a nice little send off, and you really feel like you're entering the final act with this whole thing. With just the music, the way it's shot, all the epicness that happens, like. At first, think it's not gonna work with it's only Tom Hiddleston and Sylvie, because Richard E. Grant and Kid Loki and Alligator Loki, they just leave because they figured, one, they've been stuck here for a while, so this is their home, and two, it's a death wish. So it seems like it's just Tom Hiddleston and Sylvie, but then all of a sudden you get Richard E. Grant comes back, and he creates this massive illusion he just creates Asgard, and it tricks Alioth because it looks like an all-you-can-eat buffet, and he gets him, and then Richard E. Grant, before he goes out, screams glorious purpose, and the only thing that was stopping me from fully loving that scene was like that Halloween costume that looks like you just made yourself. I mean, it's a funny little jab at like the classic Golden Age comics and all that, but I don't know how to feel about that. But basically Richard E. Grant sacrifices himself so that way Tom Hiddleston and Sylvie can enchant Alioth, and they do, and it opens up this portal to where whoever is in charge lives. So because Sylvie mentioned how Alioth is the guard dog of whoever's in charge, where Loki thought they were just in where the void was just a shark tank and Alioth was the shark. So I love these analogies. I love these I love the way they describe these. Like, but again, it makes sense. These are Lokis. They would have creative ways to describe something. But for here, yeah. So Sylvie and Loki, they have reached seemingly the end. They have found the hideout of whoever's in charge. Some people believe it's another Loki. Other people believe it's Kang the Conqueror. Who knows what can happen? I mean, if WandaVision taught me anything, sometimes the most obvious answer is the correct one. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, so yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to go watch the finale, see what happens, and yeah. So, yeah, that's all I got for this one. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you liked it, leave a like. If you want to leave a comment, leave a comment. And if you want to subscribe. You don't have to. I'm just saying. Thank you all for watching, and we will see you in the next video.